We reduced that to $250,000. Now that's a no-brainer, but people aren't having that conversation. You know why? They got the John D. Rockefeller strategy. How much money do you need, Mr. Rockefeller? Just a little bit more. Just a little bit more.
Because they don't want to face the music, so they keep putting it off.
Exactly. And you know the other problem, and I actually blame accountants for this. Accountants are taught defer, defer, defer. But they never undefer, undefer, undefer. So basically what that is, it's procrastinate, procrastinate, procrastinate. And then worry about it after you're done procrastinating. Wow, how does that strategy work? How did that strategy work in life? Never worked for me.
Never does work.
Folks, if you would like a report, and this is a sample report, we will send it out to you. It's on your potential tax impact. We will send you a sample report. And then we can also, once you reach out to us, we'll give you a sample report with your numbers on there. Okay, you can request that. You can go to info@mymoneyissafe.com. Folks, let me tell you something. I don't like gimmicks. I listen to some of these other shows. The first 10 callers are going to get a report. That's such a lie. Anybody who calls the show is going to get a report. So I'm not going to play that game. If you like a report, just request the report and we'll get you a sample report right now. Okay. Yeah, one of our clients wrote on here, yes, worry later, but it's our money and the government continues to reach in our pockets. That's so true. So get this report of the potential tax impact right here. Folks, you can be looking at a sample of it right now on Facebook. And we are going to focus on this a lot because this is something that we're not talking. We've been talking and focusing a lot on inflation. I think everybody agrees that inflation is through the roof right now. But this is a kissing cousin of inflation, which is your potential tax impact. So we just showed you a solution of what happens if you convert to a Roth. But a lot of factors could take place. What happens if we're older? You know, what do we do? So I've got it on our sheet. Would you rather pay $450,000 over time or just knock it down to $125,000? These are questions that you've got to understand, okay? Now, here's the other impact, Patty. What happens if taxes rise? What happens if taxes rise? So these are issues that we've got to understand. So we're going to talk about something called the middle quintile, okay? Now, this is going to shock people, Patty. But do you realize that in 2000, our taxes were 6% higher than they were in 2020? 6% higher. So for those of you who think they can't go back up, well,
or for those of you that think taxes are high now.
Right. This is the lowest that they've been. So I'm showing on our chart right here, taxes in 2020 were at 22%, in 2000 were at 28%. So basically, taxes were 30% higher in 2000. Do you think that if the Democrats get in here, they're going to want to lower this? So let's take that same 64-year-old Dave, and now let's add the extra 6% to his tax liability. And I'm just going to scroll down for time's sake here. Now, guess how much of his taxes that he's going to pay? He put in 500. Listen to me very carefully, folks. He put in $500,000. He's getting 5% growth. He's in a 32% tax liability. On his $500,000 IRA, he's paying $578,000 in taxes over his lifetime. That's more than his IRA is worth. Okay? Folks, if you don't do anything about that, that's huge. So what's the solution? The solution is convert to a Roth or convert to a Rothing strategy with a strategic plan of lowering your taxes. I'm going to tell you, 55-year-olds, early 60-year-olds, you have a golden opportunity to follow this track strategy. Give us a call at 1-800-440-0434 or go to mymoneyissafe.com. mymoneyissafe.com. Patty, I said a mouthful. I want your comments on this. You know, we've looked at this, but I think this is impactful if people are listening and they're paying attention to this.
It's very impactful. There are a lot of things to consider because we have met with clients that did a Rothing strategy type of instrument, and it caused them to go into a tax crunch situation.
Right,
So that's what we like to talk to you about.
right,
It's not a one size fits all. This is a concept which is to be used and tweaked to suit your needs
right.
and to get you into the best position.
And no, most advisors don't know this strategy. They don't practice this strategy. And here's one of the potential pitfalls. Let's say it's done wrong and it's
And
done
we
at
have
64 years old.
and we have met with these people.
Yes. And now your Medicare goes up to $458 a month. Okay. These are potential pitfalls. So there is a correct way to do it and an incorrect way to do it. Folks, you want to learn the correct way, call us at 1-800-440-0434. That's 1-800-440-0434, or go to mymoneyissafe.com. Now, listen, folks, I ran into people right now that think CDs are their solution. CD is another tax trap. I'm going to say it the way it is. A CD is another tax trap. You know why? You are losing 80 on a 5% CD. Listen to me, folks. If you got $100,000 5% CD, you are losing $8,400 of purchasing power. If I look at the same standards of inflation as we did in 1980 to now, $8,400. So all these people that are jumping into CDs, oh, I'm getting 5%. They don't understand taxes. They don't understand the macro viewpoint of taxes. Not trying to be disrespectful, folks, but that's why you need to call us. Give us a call at 1-800-440-0434 or go to mymoneyissafe.com. That's mymoneyissafe.com. And we will be with you in any way we can to help you solve the problem. Folks, if you look on our website, you look on Facebook, you see that you pay more on your IRA than it's actually worth over time. That's the problem. Patty, we got about 30 seconds. Any words on that right now?
Just that it's true. As I've said before, get a second opinion, please call us. And like Greg has said previously, these are also strategies and things that even your tax accountant will not share with you.
Absolutely.
Mainly
Folks,
because they don't have the knowledge. Go ahead.
stay tuned. We'll be right back. We're out of time. And Patty's right. The CPA won't talk to you about it very often. And go to mymoneyissafe.com. We'll be right back.
Come bring me your softness. Comfort me through all this madness. Jesus, I know with you I'm born again. Come give me a sweet.
Folks, this is Rick Elliott, the Prosperity Group. How can we help you? We're talking about tax traps. We can run an RMD account analysis. We can go to the potential tax impact of not having tax planning, and we can show you what your tax liability is on your money. You want to find out how we can help you with this? Give us a call at 1-800-440-0434 or go to mymoneyissafe.com. We'll also be talking to you about our holistic retirement book. We'll be right back.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident that was not your fault, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by to answer your questions for free. Call now and find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-504-8790. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell everyone listening who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me here. It's always nice to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now. 800-504-8790. You'll find out if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. Take advantage of this opportunity and call now. 800-504-8790.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center, may not be available in all states.
Resting safe within your arms, I'm born again.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. When you are listening to our radio show and you watch us on Facebook, it reminds me of Rush Limbaugh. He always talked to Snerdley, but nobody knew who Snerdley was, and you didn't know what he looked like. I didn't know if he was really alive, but apparently he was. But anyway, I'm talking to Ken, and yes, he is alive because he can pull the plug on me right now. He's got that much power. So, folks, we're talking about the tax trap. Don't fall into the tax trap. And I want you to give us a call at 1-800-440-0434. We have the new Holistic Retirement Complementary book. We've got reports, sample reports we will get to you on a tax analysis on your IRA, your qualified analysis, your potential tax impact, and also your R&D.
Good morning, doctor. Hello, doctor.
Good morning. Can you
Say that
hear
one
me?
more time for me.
One more time for me.
Yeah, I had to turn your volume up there. Okay, you're sounding good, sir. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I am in pretty good spirits this morning. So, what's new with you? What are we going to be talking about today?
I'm sorry, say that again.
What will we be talking about today? I asked.
Well, I thought we would talk about how to hold your marriage together and inflammatory bowel disease and what's going on in Israel and Estonia and what they're saying about what's going to happen if Ukraine loses the war. And I don't want to talk about Trump. I'm worn out with hearing about it. How about you?
It is, that won't be done for years. That's going to be on appeal forever.
Yeah, I think he's going to end up winning, but the press is trying to play it like a lot of Republicans say now they're not going to vote for him because he's been convicted. But the rallies are getting bigger. I don't get it.
The Democrats just wanted to be able to say convicted felon Donald Trump. That's it.
Oh, no, they want him behind bars.
I don't think they really care about that.
Oh, I do.
They don't want him to be a sympathetic figure. They just want the commercials to say convicted felon Donald Trump.
Well, I think that they would like to keep him behind bars so he can't go out and campaign. But I think
it's not going to be a difference between a Joe campaign. It's Joe.
I think on appeal, though, he'll be able to stay out of jail, won't he?
I think on appeal, in the end, I think that it'll be thrown out. Yeah.
When it gets into the federal system, it'll be thrown out, but that'll take a while.
That's what I mean. It's not going to be done by the election.
No. But if he wins, I hope he takes the gloves off. He was just a little bit too diplomatic in his first term.
The thing is, will he be allowed to stay out of prison during appeal? Sometimes the judge lets you do that. Sometimes they don't. Is he a flight risk with all his planes and all that kind of thing? They may come up with all kinds of excuses.
I think it'd be hard for him to escape. I think he's
Probably
known worldwide.
The Secret Service will know where he's going. Yeah.
Well, almost any country he goes to, they'll give him back right away because they're also anti-Trump anyway because of CNN.
All right. Well, you know what? We probably best stay away from that one. That's too volatile right now anyway, so probably shouldn't talk about that much.
Well, plus it's just being beat to death on the national press or by the national press.
Oh, I'm sure Sunday morning is nothing but right now. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's all over the place. And really sick, though, that Biden would laugh about it, smile about it. Unbelievable. I would be sad.
Well, you know what? Maybe it's time for a whole new generation of leaders. What do you think?
Yeah, but it's not easy to make those changes. It took really. How many big changes have we had in the history of the country? Well, we went from the Federalists to the Democratic Republicans when Jefferson came in, but hell, he morphed back into a Federalist. But it really wasn't until Andrew Jackson came along that there was a real shift in the power in Washington, D.C. And then, of course, the Civil War and the election of 1912, where Teddy Roosevelt split the vote and allowed Woodrow Wilson to get in, and he kind of changed the drum beat. But and then of course FDR. But it's not. I mean, it only happens about every 20 or 30 years that you get a big change, and it takes a lot of effort.
Well, you're right. I think America's starting to get burned out on the whole thing.
Yeah, and I think that if anybody was going to change the mantra, it would have been or will be Trump. But even Trump was reluctant to be too heavy-handed with Congress and the Democrats when he was in his first term, and that was one of the things I criticized him about is that he was too diplomatic. I mean, he sounds tough when he's talking to the public, but behind closed doors, they say he's quite diplomatic. And
Well, I don't know about that. I guess so. I guess he was. I mean, he was diplomatic with North Korea. That's what that was visit was a diplomatic visit.
yeah, he was diplomatic with everybody, and I think that he wanted his programs to slow the border down and get rid of some of the tariffs and some of the rules and regs, but that you didn't need Congress for per se. Those are things that you could do with a stroke of a pen.
I thought his visit to North Korea was brilliant. You can't get anything done unless you're talking.
Well, that's one of the things that you have to have in a marriage too, is you got to talk. You got to communicate.
Oh, really? Damn.
Yeah, I know. It's really, well, a lot of communication for me is just saying, uh-huh, you're right. So, but
I agree. That's what you do.
we've been together 25 years and I don't see any end to it. So I must be doing something right.
Well, I think we're looking pretty good here. I'm gonna let you go back to your work, and I'll see you after the weather, I guess. Yeah.
Well, did I tell you about the guy that came into the ER and
No, what happened?
he had had a heart attack and so they brought him in and the wife was there and so I pronounced him dead and so they're wheeling him down to the morgue and the wife's standing there, walking alongside of him and he reaches out and grabs her and he says, "I'm not dead yet." She said, "The doctor said you were. Shut up." You're gone, dude.
I'll talk to you later, Doc.
Bye. Turn my feedback on, Ken.
Act is H.R. 3413 in the U.S. House and Senate Bill 1669 in the U.S. Senate. Please contact your senator and your congressman asking them to support this vital legislation to keep AM radio in American cars now and forever. The AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act. Act today.
WGUL and W229DJ Dunedin. Powered by Prosperity Group. See them online today at mymoneyissafe.com.
Experience the best selection of cigars and accessories in the country. Corona Cigar is located at 4142 West Boy Scout Boulevard across from International Plaza, or visit coronacigar.com.
With SRN News, I'm Michael Harrington in Washington. Donald Trump's legal and political calendars will continue to clash following his felony conviction, White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
For months now, the former president has juggled campaign events and court appearances, and that trend will continue in the months ahead. On June 27th, Donald Trump and Joe Biden will face off in a presidential debate in Atlanta. Exactly 2 weeks later, Trump will be back here in Manhattan for his sentencing on July 11th. That's 4 days before the start of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee, where Trump is expected to officially become the party's presidential nominee. Greg Clugston, New York.
Vermont, the first state with a law requiring fossil fuel companies to pay a share of the damage caused by so-called climate change.
Republican Governor Phil Scott allowed the bill to become law without his signature late Thursday after the state suffered catastrophic summer flooding and damage from other extreme weather. Scott wrote in his message to lawmakers that taking on big oil should not be taken lightly and that he's concerned about the costs and the outcomes of the small state doing that alone. Maryland, Massachusetts, and New York also considering similar measures. Rhonda Rockstra reporting.
California firefighters, aided by aircraft, are battling a wind-driven wildfire in an area straddling the San Francisco Bay Area and Central California. The Department of Forestry and Fire Protection says gusty winds are fueling the Corral fire that began on Saturday afternoon and continues this morning near the city of Tracy, 60 miles east of San Francisco. Live Nation is investigating a data breach at its Ticketmaster subsidiary, which dominates ticketing for live events in this country. Live Nation says that on May 27th, a criminal threat actor offered to sell Ticketmaster data on the dark web. This is SRN News.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-353-2973 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-353-2973. That's 800-353-2973. What do you have to lose? Call 800-353-2973. Again, 800-353-2973.
Helping you get where you're trying to go. Get digital media solutions for your business. Visit surroundtampa.com. Surroundtampa.com. Just when you thought your smartphone couldn't get any smarter, now you can add the AM860 app with local news, national headlines, and commentary. The answer is smart. Adding the AM860 app to your smartphone is genius. Get it now at the Apple App Store and Google Play.
The following program is sponsored by Bay Area Medical Can Care Clinic.
For today, intervals of clouds and sunshine with a thunderstorm in 1 or 2 spots this afternoon with a high of 93. For tonight, patchy clouds in the area with a low of 75. For tomorrow, some sun with a thunderstorm in spots in the afternoon, high 91. Get your weather news when and how you want it wherever you are. Download our free app or visit AccuWeather.com. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Caitlin Lawrence for AM 860, The Answer.
Go, Doc.
Good morning, everybody. This is Dr. Bill, your radio MD, and we're doing a radio show and a podcast. And I've got Ken with me, as usual.
Morning,
my
Doc.
main man. Good morning. How's life?
Treating me great. How about you?
I can't complain. I mean, I can, but nobody will listen. Nobody cares.
I care, Doc.
Well, that's sweet of you. I mean, not that anybody can actually do anything to relieve us of our deep inner angst, but
you got angst. Oh my!
I'm not sure what that is.
There got to be a pill for that.
Well, I thought it was like a bracelet you put on your ankle, but apparently not.
I don't think so. No.
So one of my patients came in Thursday, and he's getting pre-op because he's having a skin cancer taken off over at Moffitt. Moffitt is, for those of you who don't know, is one of the renowned cancer clinics, cancer centers in the southeastern United States. They've got a good reputation. Although I tried to get an appointment over there through their internet, their web service, and no one ever called me back. So I would have been dead had I waited. So at any rate, he said, well, you know, they told me that if you take niacin, which is vitamin B3, 500 milligrams twice a day, then you can cut down on your chances of skin cancer. That came from a study in 2015, and I don't know how solid that study is. I didn't have time to read through the whole study, but so you can get niacin over the counter, but it's 500 milligrams twice a day, which is tough to take because you get flushing and hot and itchy, and it's not something that is well tolerated in this hot environment of ours. Plus twice a day, those are big doses. And I'm not sure that it does all that much. I don't know how much it actually cuts down on skin cancer, but at any rate, I didn't argue with the guy. I just said, okay. And it doesn't seem to help women as much as men. And the other problem is that this is used to get your HDL up, which is the protective fraction of the cholesterol. You know, cholesterol molecule is really a conglomeration of different fats, high density, low density, fatty acids, different things, and they're in globules, microscopic, of course. And so that supposedly is one of the ways to get your HDL up. But there are no studies to show that getting your HDL up with niacin actually prevents heart or stroke events. So there's some controversy here. And it's hard to take, and I don't know how effective it really is to prevent skin cancer.
Just keep slapping on the 50 block, you know?
Yeah, the SPF 50 and vitamin D, and don't smoke. Smoking increases all cancers except for prostate. I don't know why prostate slipped out of there, but at any rate. So that's nice. And oh, by the way, that's a vitamin B3, and the lack of it is called, the disease is called pellagra. And it was pretty common in the quote indigenous Mesoamericans, the Mexican Americans and the Isthmus, the Central Americans, because they had a high corn diet, and corn doesn't have niacin in it, whereas the other grains like wheat and barley and rye do. So that's the story there, buddy boy.
All right. Well, I'm going to keep slapping on the 50 and the.
Yeah, wear the 50. The 50 is the way to go.
They laugh at me, but I slap it on anyway.
Let them laugh.
That's right.
Who cares?
I'm too old to care. Exactly.
And who are these people anyway? What do they know?
They're my friends, supposedly.
What kind of friends tell you not to do something that's good for you?
It's non-manly, I guess, to have a 50.
No,
I don't know.
Sakes. Well, don't let them just put a piece of tape over the SPF 50 part.
I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of my 50.
So I got a patient in the hospital, and she has inflammatory bowel disease. And this is a disease of the small intestine and the large intestine. There's basically two major categories. One is ulcerative colitis, and the other is Crohn's disease. So these are two very distinct entities. The Crohn's disease, the main place it hits is where the small bowel goes into the large bowel. And it's got skip lesions, and it can be throughout the entire GI tract, starting in your mouth, going all the way down to your anus. Now, ulcerative colitis is localized to the large bowel, and you can see behind me the large bowel.
Is that what we're looking at there?
Yeah, and actually, you're looking through the tubular part of the bowel, and all the landmarks in architecture have been disrupted by the inflammatory process. And then here's what normal bowel would look like. If I can find it up real quick for you. There it is.
Oh, that's much different. That's pretty dramatic.
That's quite different. You can see you still have the folds here and the architecture. And so the inflammatory bowel disease is a big deal, but we have a lot of new treatments for that. The symptoms are abdominal cramping, irregular bowel habits, weight loss, fever, malaise, fatigue.
I see commercials all the time for Crohn's disease and things like that.
Yeah, joint problems, growth retardation in kids, and you can have extraintestinal manifestations. You can have blood and mucus in your stool, and you can have fistulas perianal, which are communications between the external anal area and the bowel, the colon. Diarrhea, of course, is a big part of this, and abdominal cramping and pain. And it's really a miserable disease. And fortunately, we've got a lot of new treatments for it. The way we diagnose it, and what my patient who was admitted had was abdominal pain and cramping, fever, tachycardia, which is a fast heart rate, anemia. And you can also get what's called toxic megacolon, which is where the large bowel actually becomes paralyzed and it blows up with gas, and it can cause bowel death, and then you have to go in and take it out.
And that
so,
doesn't sound very pleasant at all.
No, it's not. It's not pleasant at all.
Where does IBS and irritable bowel syndrome fit into all this?
Irritable bowel is like spasms of the bowel without any real damage to the mucosal lining of the bowel. So it doesn't really cause any damage. It's just a nuisance. But as you know, and as a lot of people know who have irritable bowel, this affects your emotions. And the same way with inflammatory bowel disease. So this not only affects you physically, but it affects you emotionally. It's a real drain.
It can be painful, yeah.
Yeah, painful. And you think about your gut. Think about when you have a stomach ache. That pretty much occupies everything. Your whole day,
it's true, yeah.
It's stomach ache. So at any rate, we work this up by doing a complete blood count, nutritional evaluation. We look at B12 and folate and iron levels, get a sedimentation rate, which, as I've said before, is a nonspecific test for inflammation. You can do a fecal calprotein level and serology studies like ANA and rheumatoid factor and ANCA and a bunch of other things. And of course, you need to rule out infections in the colon like parasites, ova and parasites, and culture for bacterial infections. So all those things have to be done. You can do imaging studies, but probably the best thing is going to be colonoscopy, scoping both ends actually. The imaging, if you give people some dye to drink, some of that barium, you know what that is.
Oh, I've had the barium, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the barium's like a liquid. Barium is a metal, but it's not absorbed in the form that we give it because it is toxic to carbon-based life forms. And you can see strictures or narrowing in the bowel. So you'll have a normal-looking piece of bowel, and all of a sudden you just have this little string of barium going through, and that's pretty old-timey and classic of especially Crohn's disease. And then colonoscopy with a biopsy, the old scope up the butt. And should look at the upper end too. So put the scope down into the stomach. And there's some other things that you can do. We have these little cameras that you can swallow, believe it or not.
You swallow the camera.
You swallow, it's a little miniature camera, and it goes through your gut, and it takes pictures randomly, and then you retrieve it in the stool, send it to the lab, and they process the pictures and send them
New
to
from
the doctor.
Kodak.
Yeah, you got your own internal Kodak, baby.
All right.
What's going on in there? Well, let's find out.
By the way, Dr. Bill, your Radio MD on Facebook, if you want to see what we're talking about.
Facebook and YouTube and Twitch and X and I don't know what else, Ken. I can't keep up with all this newfangled.
Neither can I. That's why I pretty much
technology.
stick to Facebook these days.
Yeah, you know, I told you Herman. You remember Herman the cartoon?
Yeah, sure.
So it was a one-panel cartoon
Right,
for those
yeah.
of you who are too young to know what it was. Pretty funny, pretty insightful. So he's standing there in the cave in his loincloth, and one of the younger guys comes in with a torch, you know, a fire torch, and it's lighted. And Herman says, "That's amazing." He says, "I just can't keep up with all this new technology."
Anyway, there you go. If you want to see him, Dr. Bill, your Radio MD on whatever social media site
There you go.
you prefer. Yeah.
At any rate, the treatment for these inflammatory bowel diseases includes aminosalicylic acid, antibiotics in certain cases, cortisone, prednisone and prednisolone, Medrol. And of course, we've got the new immunomodulators, the monoclonal antibodies that you inject, and some other oral medications you can take. And there's a lot on the horizon, and occasionally you just have to admit people because they're dehydrated. You got to give them fluids. You got to take care of them, and that makes the wife happy because she's down there Count de Monet. It makes me happy because I got something to do. I can get out of the house. And, we had a problem. I was at one of the nursing homes recently, one of these senior daycare centers, and there was a 60, 70, 80, and 90-year-old guy, and they all had black eyes. And I said to the 60-year-old, "So what happened to you?" He said, "Well, my wife was feeding me an omelet, and she said, 'How is it?' And I said, 'It's a little too salty,' and she popped me in the eye." And I said, "How about you?" to the 70-year-old. And he said, "Well, my wife was going out to shop and be with friends. And I said, 'Can I come with you?' And she said, 'Hell no.' And she hit me in the eye." And then the 80-year-old, I said, "What happened to you?" And he said, "Well, I was asking her just what she was going to do today, and she popped me in the eye." And the 90-year-old said, "What happened to you?" She said, "I opened my eyes." Not that funny, huh?
It's okay. It's good, not bad.
She said, "Go back to sleep."
Oh, I thought she wanted him, gone forever. Thank you very much. He opened his eyes.
He opens his eyes and
"Oh,
she
you're still
popped
alive,
him.
man."
You're still alive. All right. So at any rate, so how do we hold our marriages together, Ken?
Love.
How have you done it?
By staying out of the way. by trying to remain anonymous by saying yes, dear.
Yes, dear. Well, I think it helps to be. You have to know when to back up and let people emote. That's important. And I think that it works best if it's bilateral, but it's tough for some women to really, at least in my opinion. Maybe some guys are this way too. I haven't been married to a guy yet, but it's
Well,
hard
maybe
for
someday,
them.
Doc.
Yeah, it's hard for them to back up and let you express your emotions at times. But I think that's important. But I also think you have to watch what you share because there are certain things that men can handle from women and certain things they can't, and vice versa. So you just have to be careful. And my wife will worry about every little thing. So if I tell her everything I'm thinking, she will lose it because she won't be able to keep up with her worrying. All the things that I'm worrying.
You're making me crazy with all your stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm coming up on 30 years in August. So
yeah, we're at 25. So I think if we focus on the bigger picture, that's important. If we think in the short term, like, I don't like you, I'm sick of this, let's get a divorce, it has a lot of impact not only on you and your spouse, but also on your kids, on your grandkids. There's a lot of financial complications to it. Everybody's net worth goes down, and there's relocation and moving, and these are all difficult things. So I think those are some of the things we have to stand back and take a look at. And instead of focusing on the short term, we have to stop and think about the long term. And that's what I said to my last wife. I said, look, we're going through a rough time, but you don't know the long term as we can make it, and we're only now starting to build our net worth, and because we're in our early 40s, but that didn't seem to stop her.
Didn't have
I wasn't
vision.
the best husband, but
no, you were a young doctor. You were busy.
Well, and I was an asshole too. So, pardon my French.
Yeah, I had to hit the bump on there, Doc.
I was a bleep bleep.
Yeah, I'm afraid so, yeah.
And so I think the other thing we have to do is find our shared values, the things that we like and don't like. And, she likes the big city. I would prefer to go look at the countryside. So you got to make some compromises and say, okay, we'll go to London, but I also want to drive around Ireland and see Ireland. And I think it's important to stick together. One of the ways that Sammy Hagar, who was a singer for Van Halen, did it is he took the family with him when he was on tour. And you know what?
Great idea, yeah.
You think about it, it cuts down on especially for somebody who's high performance and has a lot of net worth, even lower performing, less net worth people, you're going to get hit on. There's a lot of lonely people out there. But if you got your wife and family with you, that'll cut down on that, and it'll give you something to focus on.
Exactly.
And they love you more for it. They think they feel special and important.
And when you want to go take them to Disney World, you're Sammy Hagar. They'll give you a personal tour. You'll be escorted in and out.
I think those
raise
are
spoiled kids, but that's the way it is.
And you got to let people grow and change. And a lot of women, I guess, or maybe men too. Again, I haven't been married to a man, but I guess there are a lot of people who are dependent on their spouse, and then over time they gain more self-confidence and they're less dependent. And that may be threatening to some people, but I think the main thing is to go ahead and encourage people to fulfill their potential. That to me is as important as anything. You got to keep talking, but not too much. And and if you're a guy, try not to get pregnant. That pretty much shows. You've been out doing something you shouldn't.
That's not good. Never.
That's not good. No. So
even when you're married, it's not good.
Yeah, I think there are some things that we can do that will help hold the marriage together. And I think the commitment. I think you got to recommit too. If not verbally a lot, at least emotionally, you got to recommit. And a lot of, I love you and you're special and important to me. And I think you're cute. Of course, my wife says, oh, you don't mean it, which means tell me again. So you tell them again. Like I didn't know that in the first marriage, but I learned.
You learn. That's right.
You learn as you go. Well. What are you going to do?
Well, I'm still on my first, so I must be doing okay.
You're doing a good job. You're a good guy.
If we could both quit smoking, that would be nice.
Yeah, well, you can come to Dr. Bill's non-smoking clinic.
Well, it's tough to do when somebody else in the house is smoking, you know what I mean?
Well, but what I do is I lock you up and you.
Oh, I see. It's food's under the door kind of thing. All right.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I did.
Are the walls padded? Because I may be going berserk for a few days. So.
Well, that's what happened when she said she was going to leave me. I just locked her up until she got over it.
Don't do that.
But we communicated.
Well, that's the important thing, like you were saying.
Here, honey, here's your breakfast.
So communication, the most important thing, huh?
Yeah, the communication and acceptance. Acceptance is the answer to all of our problems today. That's from the Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book, which is really not so much about alcoholism, but about a different way of leading your life. It's an interesting philosophy and a good one, and you can apply it to just about anything. So, at any rate, if you ever get a chance, read the Alcoholic Anonymous Big Book, written by.
I have to admit, I haven't even considered reading it yet. So.
It's really fascinating. It is a fascinating read. My last spouse was a self-proclaimed alcoholic, and so I got involved with it. And of course, being in the medical field, we're exposed to the AA mantras, and I went to a lot of meetings, and I'd introduce myself. I can't say it because you'll bleep me again. Because, you go to a meeting and you say, hi, my name is Bill and I'm an alcoholic or I'm a drug addict. And I'd say, hi, my name is Dr. Bill and I'm an A.
Okay. Thank you.
You got it.
I had my finger on the button, by the way. Just want to let you know. I had my finger on the button.
With me, you got to hang on that button, buddy.
All right. All right. Well, so communicate, folks. You'll have a nice, long, happy life with your wife.
So at any rate, there's a lot of good life lessons in the Alcoholics Anonymous Big Book if you're so interested. Good way to lead life. Anyway, so the Israeli High Command is now saying the war will last at least through the end of this year, and the sentiment within the Israeli hierarchy is that there'll be no end to it until Hamas is completely eliminated. Now, a ceasefire has been proposed, but a lot of people on the right in Israel are saying no ceasefire until all the hostages are back. And two of the ministers, including the finance minister, threatened to resign this weekend over possible negotiations without release of the hostages and some assurances that certain things would be done. And I think this is something that's very important. Excuse me a minute.
So we've got Israel now fractured as far as the government's concerned. Is it that deep?
I think that there are some people on the right. In Israel, the right are the Orthodox Jews and the conservative Jews who are not going to be happy if there is any reconciliation without a complete destruction of Hamas, if there's any peace accords or ceasefires, unless Hamas is dismantled completely. And I think that the Israeli military is saying they're not going to stop until this is done. But, there are a lot of people in Israel, just like here, who are peaceniks and think that people should be able to sit down and work things out. And you can't always do that, Ken.
We've tried. How many times have they tried?
Yeah. And I think
over the years,
it's just not going to work.
No.
And I think the idea of a two-state situation there is not going to fly. I don't think the Israelis will allow that. And basically, I think that what the Palestinians want is to be able to get a passport, and then they can all come to the United States, which is basically what they want to do. They want to get out, but nobody wants them.
Yeah, why aren't the Arab states opening up their borders?
Well, Egypt threw them out, and Jordan threw them out, and Syria didn't want them, and
Saudi Arabia's got a lot of land out there.
Yeah, but they're not going to let the Saudis they're the high tribe. And the Palestinians are like the lowest caste in the Arab world.
Well,
And the Israelis are Semites, so they're the same bloodline, but they're pretty cloistered, and they've pretty much inbred, and they've made a super species out of themselves. But they miss a few of the lessons in life, like when Hitler gets in power, it's time to get out.
yeah, yeah. Well, you know what? It's you got to defend yourself when it comes right down to it. In the end,
You have to.
you have to. No one else is going to do it for you.
No, and self-preservation is the first law, and unfortunately, we're seeing the Democrats walk us into situations because we're not defending ourselves, or we're doing a very limited job of it. Shooting down Houthi missiles, big deal.
Yeah,
drop a nuke on them. That'll end that.
Well, yeah, there might be a couple of steps in between, though, Doc. That we could.
Well, we could try a few steps.
We could try some conventional stuff. We got a lot of conventional sitting around.
Yeah, just go in and whack them. What's the big deal?
I don't know. I don't
know. Drop some lead on them.
We've been this way since Korea.
Yeah, and the Democrats. This all goes back to Woodrow Wilson and his foreign policy, which has continued on. And I think Trump was changing it a little bit, but
everybody is scared.
Everybody's scared, and there's really nothing to be scared of.
You're the most powerful nation in the world. Everybody's scared of you. That's what you.
Well, the people are scared of nuclear war, and I say to them, it would be suicide for Russia to launch a nuclear strike.
Exactly, for anybody to do it,
because they'd be gone.
Right.
We'd counter, and we have a lot more precise and more powerful weapons than they do. A lot more that will hit the target.
We're not going to solve that problem today, Doc, because it's question time.
Absolutely.
We have 2 Dr. Bill, your radio MD coffee mugs up for grabs at 877-969-8600. This is for the first caller with the correct answer to the following question. The question always deals with something we've been talking about in the first half of the show. We were just talking about this a few minutes ago, as a matter of fact, how to have a nice, long, happy marriage. And I think we came up with a consensus on what we should do to do that, right, Doc?
I think so. I think there's a few things we can throw in there. So you got some choices this morning.
Give them 2 out of 3 choices.
There you go. Let's see. Communication, acceptance, and beer.
Beer.
Something like
which
that.
Which one of those is probably correct? Actually, they're probably 2 out of 3 correct. You got to have 2 out of 3 on this one.
There you go.
877-969-8600. 877-969-8600. First caller will win the cups there. So we'll be back. Ain't that right?
We'll be right back. This is Dr. Bill.
Experience the best selection of cigars and accessories in the country. Corona Cigar is located at 4142 West Boy Scout Boulevard across from International Plaza, or visit coronacigar.com.
With SRN News, I'm Michael Harrington in Washington. A shooting at a bar in suburban Pittsburgh has left 2 people dead and 7 others injured. Allegheny County police officials say the Penn Hills Police Department asked for their help in the early morning shooting at the Ballers Hookah Lounge and Cigar Bar in Penn Hills. First responders discovered the bodies of an adult male and adult female inside the bar about 3 a.m. this morning. Elsewhere, parachutists have jumped from World War II-era planes into now peaceful Normandy to kick off a week of ceremonies marking the 80th anniversary of D-Day. Soldiers from across the U.S., Britain, Canada, and other allied nations waded ashore through hails of fire on 5 beaches on June 6, 1944. World leaders, including President Biden and Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, will be there. This is SRN News.
Dr. Bill for Bay Area Medical, located at 6399 38th Avenue North in St. Pete, 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. Full service clinic with x-ray, heart imaging, ultrasound, stress testing, and minor surgery. We provide quality health care in a warm and friendly atmosphere. We are multilingual, well-trained, and certified. Most American insurance and new patients accepted. Bay Area Medical, home of Can Care, 727-384-6411. 727-384-6411.
Dr. Bill here. With social distancing and sheltering in place, telemedicine is here. Bay Area Medical Home of Can Care Clinic offers telemedicine for new and established patients. You can see me without an in-office visit. Schedule an appointment at 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. When it's time for your appointment, type this web address into your cell phone or computer web browser, doxy.me/Bay Area Med. A cell phone works well and is all you really need. For computers, you need a web camera and speakers. We'll give you this address when you call for your appointment. We accept most insurances and travel insurances. Canadians and visitors, please call your travel insurance company for an authorization number prior to the visit. Copays and deductibles apply. Self-pay rates are available. Just ask. We accept credit cards, PayPal, and Stripe. 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411.
Dr. Bill here. My friends at St. Pete MRI and Sleep Diagnostics are your best choice for state-of-the-art MRI, CT, and sleep studies. Quality unsurpassed. 25 years experience makes St. Pete MRI my go-to imaging center. Self-pay rates are competitive and out-of-pocket cost a fraction of a hospital. Conveniently accessible from both sides of the bay at 750 94th Avenue North, St. Pete, near the Gandhi. 727-577-2220, 727-577-2220.
Helping you get where you're trying to go. Get digital media solutions for your business. Visit surroundtampa.com. surroundtampa.com.
For today, intervals of clouds and sunshine with a thunderstorm in 1 or 2 spots this afternoon with a high of 93. For tonight, patchy clouds in the area with a low of 75. For tomorrow, some sun with a thunderstorm in spots in the afternoon, high 91. Get your weather news when and how you want it wherever you are. Download our free app or visit AccuWeather.com. That's your AccuWeather forecast. I'm Caitlin Lawrence for AM 860, The Answer.
Yo, Doc.
And I'm back. This is Dr. Bill. I got Ken with me, and we are doing a radio show. So it's a good morning. Everybody who didn't make it to church this morning, this is your Sunday sermon from your friends at Salem, Tampa. Oh, my God.
We have a winner, Doc.
Who we got?
George McGee from St. Petersburg.
George, thanks for listening, buddy. We appreciate you, and we'll get those out. And by the way, Walt, I have not gotten yours out. I have it in a box and ready to go. So I'll send it out when we send out the other one, okay?
That sounds good to me. I'm sure he'll appreciate it.
How's that sound? Everybody happy with that?
Anyway, George had the right answers, communication. That was all we really needed. So that's keep it along. And happy wife, communicate.
There you go, George. Thank you, and we always appreciate your support.
And thanks to everybody who called in today. Didn't win, but we appreciate it. Yes.
So speaking of the Jewish side of the family and the super race that, at least mentally, that the Jews have created by their inbreeding over the millennia, guess who's going to be president of Mexico?
I have no idea, Doc. I haven't been watching that.
Claudia Sheinbaum.
Really?
She's a Mexican Jew, and she'll be the first Jew and the first female president of Mexico. So in an all-Catholic or mostly Catholic country, in a supposedly a macho country, of course, you know, that's a lot of the press pushes that stuff. We get stereotypes. You got Claudia Sheinbaum coming in.
All right, well. Okay, Claudia. How's she going to be handled? You know, they've got a lot of cartels down there. I hope she's got, the backbone.
Well, she's what's the president guy's name? I can't remember, but
I don't remember either. No.
She apparently is in his mold and has been at his side for years now. So I don't think we're going to see a big change in the policies that the country is presently running under, and that includes not cracking down too hard on the cartels, because it's it's a kind of a little knife in the ribs to the United States, and the Mexicans, I'm sure, still have some mixed feelings about us since we cut their country almost in half back in the 1840s.
Get over it. Come on.
Yeah, come on. It's time to kiss and make up and get on with it.
That's right. We sent all kinds of manufacturing plants down there, so.
Yeah, I mean, we're sending them as much stuff as we got. I mean, and basically there wasn't anything there in the Southwest. I mean, it was, a few thousand people. That was about it.
There's still not a whole lot out there, to tell you the truth.
Well, you got Arizona and New Mexico's not very populated. Arizona, southern Arizona, you got some big cities there. And of course, Southern California is huge. So they have done some things. And then you have Nevada, and we've got gambling there, and that's important, Ken.
It is? Okay.
And we got
gives the mob something to do. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and you've got Reno, which is the biggest little city in America. Isn't that what they call themselves?
That's what they call themselves, yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yes, but overall, there's a lot of nothing out there.
In terms of what
land,
the land, yeah, it's a lot of desert.
Yeah.
In northern Mexico is a lot of desert.
That's why we have Area 51 and all that stuff out there. That's why they tested the bomb out there.
I know. And if you go out there, I think there's a certain time of year that they do open up the Trinity test grounds, and you can go out and pick up a piece of glass that was created by the blast because, it was all sand. So the heat just melted all that into little pieces of glass. Now, I don't know what you do with it once you get it, but
I would think they have scooped all that up and put it on sale at the gift shop.
Yeah, you can make little trinkets out of it.
Yeah, sure.
Rings and necklaces and
it glows in the dark. You'll find it all the time. It'd be beautiful.
It'd be beautiful, baby. I want 2. No, give me 3.
I didn't know they opened that up to tourists. Did they really?
Yeah,
it's still an active, it's still an active lab.
We've been out there, and we've driven by the testing area, and we went to the little museum there in what is it, Los Alamos? I can't remember the name of it.
That's the place.
And it's a neat little city, and they still are very active. They still have a big active scientific community out there. So it's fascinating to see.
Improving on the bomb, I think that's what they do out there pretty much, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think they're also doing research on the effects of nuclear, radiation on people and rodents and little desert thingies.
You'll catch something out in the desert.
Well, some of those cacti are pretty strange. One of them winked at me as we drove by.
Really? No kidding. Wow.
Yeah, so I think that was the after effect of the plant.
The cacti became living.
Morphed into something else.
Yeah.
So now,
hey, around Chernobyl, they've got some really big fish swimming around Chernobyl. I don't know if you've ever.
That's because nobody's been fishing there. So
true, yeah.
Grown to huge sizes, and I think there's one woman who has been free ranging out there, and she's like 400 pounds. I wouldn't lie to you, Ken. I would not lie to you.
I'm sure you wouldn't.
So then Sudan, Sudan's been through a couple of major upheavals over the past 20, 30 years. And I guess there's, again, a stir going on in refugee camps. And now there are people attacking these refugees who were displaced by whatever war. South Sudan became a country, 15, 20 years ago?
I don't know. It always seems like they're fighting somebody, themselves mostly.
Yeah, and I don't know. By the way, Sudan, for those of you who don't know, is on Egypt's southern border. So you have 2 populations there. You have the North African population, and then you have the Sub-Saharan African population. So there's a different coloring and so on and so forth. And there's different religions because the North Africans are all Muslims now. Egypt Morocco, Libya, all those countries are they're all Muslim now, and the sub-Saharan African nations are a different religious mix, including Christianity and native religions. So there's religious divide, there's ethnic divide, there's resources division, and this is what pulls countries apart. And that's why I'm so opposed to, celebrating every sub-entity in the United States. We're Americans, damn it. That should be it. You know what I'm saying?
That's enough for me.
Yeah, I don't understand what there is to gain by this kind
celebrating a subnational pride almost.
Yes, the secularization of the country into different groups, and so we're going to preserve our Polish heritage. Who cares?
Exactly. Yeah. Have a parade. We'll have a parade. Enjoy yourself.
I mean, are you going to put on some native Polish outfits and dance around? I mean,
whatever.
Oh, well.
I don't know,
Ken. It's a strange world, as we have
Maybe
seen.
we're just getting too old, Doc.
I don't think that's it. I think that we probably have some wisdom and some retrospect that the younger generation doesn't have, and they won't acquire for a while. And, like most generations, they have to learn on their own. So I don't think it's that we're old fuddy-duddies. I think it's that we're the older elephants, and we remember where the water holes are. And so when there's a drought, we know where to lead everybody to the younger people, to make sure they don't die. And that's a good thing. That's why you need your older citizens, and you need to preserve your senior citizens, and not do like my wife tried to do with a pillow the other morning. So,
No, but history will repeat itself. I mean, if you don't learn its lessons.
Who was it? Santayana said, "Those who forget their history are condemned to repeat it."
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think that that's a real problem, and our job is to continue to speak out. And as unpopular as we may be at the moment, you never know. You never know when things will turn around.
Well, when people start talking about the Holocaust being faked and all the films being faked, and they were all I mean, it gets a little wild with the imagination there.
Oh, yeah. And listen, I can tell you that the World War II was real. And I had friends of our parents, their classmates, who were intimately involved in it. As I told you, Roy Martin was one of the two young doctors who was assigned to Nuremberg to look after the first major group of Nazi war criminals, like Goering and Dönitz and Keitel and all those guys. And it's real. It's real. And he wrote a nice little book about it too.
Yeah, but social media is saying it's not, so they're going to go with social media.
Is freedom of speech, does that mean that you can say whatever you want? I thought freedom of speech was like, well, I'm a Democrat and I believe in socialism, or I'm a Republican and I believe in private enterprise. I thought that was freedom of speech. Or, I'm a Catholic and I believe that Jesus is God on earth, or I'm a Muslim and I believe that Muhammad spoke with the angel Gabriel and that's God's last prophet. I mean, I thought those were abstract kinds of freedoms that we have: freedom of religion, freedom of speech, so on and so forth. But it seems like now it's anarchy. It's whatever you think it is.
Yeah. I mean, freedom of speech is not absolute. You cannot yell fire in a crowded theater. It's against the law.
You cannot,
because people were killed. Somebody was joking around.
Yeah, you can't incite violence. That's illegal. And I think every jurisdiction has laws about inciting riots. And you saw what happened.
And our decency restrictions as well, as far as.
Well, I'm not sure I'm all for those.
I had to believe you once already. I had to believe you once already for that. So.
I like running naked through the neighborhood.
Oh, you run as far as you see, you can't do that. They'll arrest you. That's indecent exposure. See, you don't have the freedom to do that.
No, you don't.
Your freedom goes as far as until it affects somebody else's freedom, I guess.
Well, I also think that there are community standards that have to be respected. Otherwise, that's why we have laws to keep us interacting in a nonviolent, healthy way. And some people are extremely offended by nudity, and so you can't run nude because it causes too much conflict. And besides that, they'll be calling the sheriff, and the sheriff's like, I don't want to come out there for some nude guy running around.
That's right. I want to arrest a naked guy. Come on.
I'm not interested in seeing him. we arrested him last month. He can only look worse.
So yeah, freedom of speech is, restricted in some areas.
Yeah, I think the sense that that life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness means that you can do whatever you want. That's called anarchy, and that's not what the founding fathers intended.
No, not at all. No, but they didn't think it was a bad idea to fly a flag upside down once in a while. You can get away with that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and they're going after, who is it, Alito? Because
Alito, his wife was flying a flag. She had some neighbors dispute or something.
Well, at least that's her story. And
she said, I'm going to fly the flag upside down. I'm sure he just said yes, dear, because he'd been married a long time.
Yeah, well, I'm sure he didn't even ask what was going on. He just said, I got to go to work. I'm late.
I'm working on a case here that's going to decide, the future of the country. So yes, dear, do whatever you want.
Yeah, and you take care of the flag, baby.
That's right. You deal with the neighbors.
So did you see where Robert Burke, the second in command, former vice chairman of the Navy, has been arrested for awarding a single source contract in exchange for a future $500,000 a year job? Supposedly, that's what he's been accused of. So this is the second in command, Robert P. Burke. He was retired now.
Yeah, what's new? There's nothing new about this.
4-star admiral. I'm betting that he's a Republican. I'm betting that he's a Republican.
The revolving door between the military and the lobbying world has been going on forever.
Oh, yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me at all.
And that's what Eisenhower warned us about when he left office. He said, beware of the military-industrial complex.
And he was right.
And you remember what Washington advised when he left office. Actually, it was Hamilton who wrote all the speeches, but
really, I didn't know that.
Yeah, avoid entangling alliances. And guess what? We are entangled up to our eyeballs.
We always seem to be entangled somewhere.
Oh yeah.
Jefferson warned us against that too, didn't he?
No, Jefferson. Are you kidding? Jefferson didn't have an original thought. Everything he put in the Declaration of Independence was
plagiarized.
Would have already been said and published, and went back 100 years to the age of man and the age of enlightenment and all that. But he was an excellent writer, and the thing he was most proud of in his life was the Declaration of Independence, that he was able to put that together into the brilliant and readable document that it is, even though the majority of people have never read it past the first paragraph.
Yeah.
But he was not a stupid man, but he was standing on the shoulders of giants. So it was really, we're living in Hamilton's world. We're not living in Jefferson's world. And that was the big rub between Jefferson and Hamilton, is they completely disagreed on how to form the country and how the economics of the country should be, how it should be structured. And we're living in Hamilton's world. Jefferson saw a nation of small shopkeepers and farmers. Hamilton said, oh, no, we're going to be an industrial power. Jefferson wanted states' rights. He didn't want a central bank. Hamilton said, you got to have a central bank. And, they just disagreed on everything. And Hamilton wanted a stronger central government with a standing army, and Jefferson did not. In fact, did you know that John Adams had built up a pretty good-sized navy because of the war that was going on in Europe between the French and the Spanish and the Napoleonic Wars, and we had the Quasi-War in the Caribbean with the French. We were fighting the French at sea. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, we were having gun battles at sea with the French, and so Adams built up a pretty good-sized navy. And the first thing Jefferson did was decommission half of the Navy. And then a year or two later, he was going to war against the Barbary Coast pirates, who were pirating our ships and stealing our sailors. And so then he had to run out and rebuild ships. So
we've been wasting money in this country from the very beginning.
And Jefferson knew how to do it better than anybody.
Well, he bought it was a Louisiana Purchase. Didn't he get that one?
Yeah, well, that just fell in his lap. I mean, he really, I mean, he was smart enough to keep the lines of communication secretly open between Napoleon and the United States. But we have the Haitians to thank for a lot of that, because Napoleon first had to send troops into Haiti to put down the revolt there. Guess what? 4,000 or 5,000 troops that he sent, they almost all died. They were either killed by the rebels, or they died of tropical diseases. And but what his plan was, so after he got Haiti calmed down, he was going to send the troops to New Orleans, and he was going to bottle up the Mississippi and make sure that the United States didn't expand any further. But then he got into trouble, ran out of troops, ran out of money, and he said, we better sell something. But what Polk got after the Mexican-American War was almost as big as the Louisiana Purchase, and people just kind of look up past that like it was nothing. It was a big deal. I mean, he turned us into a continental from sea to sea country, and he also got Washington and Oregon and Idaho and all that area up there that had been contested between the English and the Americans, and before that it was the French and the Spanish and the English, and so you remember the Straits of Juan de Fuca?
No, I do not.
That's up there between Vancouver Island and Washington State, and Juan de Fuca was not an Englishman, so Polk actually negotiated you remember the saying 54-40 or fight?
That I've heard before, yeah.
54th parallel all the way out. And so he was able to negotiate the deal with Great Britain to give us that land below the 54th parallel from the Great Lakes out. And the actual war that almost started was over some farmer's pig wandering off, and somebody, there were Americans and British living in that area, and they almost got into a fight because I think it was the American, his pig wandered over into the Brits' yard and started eating and causing trouble, and then they got into a row over that.
We need a border, that's right.
Over a pig.
Yeah.
So you never know. You never know.
So he finished the manifest destiny that we were going through.
He did. He did. He was one of our greatest presidents, and he did it in 4 years.
He doesn't get a lot of credit. You're right.
He said, I want one term. I got 4 things I'm going to do, and he did them all. But
no kidding.
What he did not do? He did not prevent the Civil War. So.
All right. So he got out before that started.
Yeah, he was in the 1840s, and it was Pierce and Buchanan that ended up inheriting the responsibility or the blame for the Civil War, because Buchanan just threw his hands up and said, I'm going home. And he did.
He was a rich man. I think he was a pretty rich man by going into office.
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't think he ever married, did he?
I don't know.
But he is the Jimmy Carter of the 19th century. He's one of our worst presidents for not figuring out a way to work out the differences between the North and South and morph into a free country all the way around. But that's okay. We turned out better for it, I guess.
We're doing okay.
Yeah, we're doing all right.
Yeah, we're doing a lot better than a lot of countries. So.
Well, yeah, and look at little Estonia. They're saying if the Ukraine loses the war, they don't know what to do because the Russians will be after them. But I think they're part of NATO, so then we'll be pulled into it no matter what.
I don't think Putin will ever go after a NATO country. If he can get Ukraine without NATO problems, I think he'll stop there.
I don't think so.
No, you don't think so? You don't think taught him a lesson a bit? You just can't do this anymore? This is not 1930 anymore?
No, I don't think that, as we have said before, I don't think people really study and understand their history. And by the way, the French and the Germans got together and they said that Ukrainians can use their intermediate range weapons against the Russian targets inside Russia that are providing supplies to the Russian forces in the Ukraine. So the war is broadening. It's broadening, and I don't see any way to stop it unless we just send troops in there and kick the Russians out. But Biden's not going to do that. He's
no way. No.
And I don't think that Trump thinks that it's worth the money and the time that it would be involved. But you never know. I mean, you never know.
Well, neither side's going to surrender, so I guess we just keep on going there.
Woodrow Wilson said, "We're not going to war. We're not going to war" in World War I. And then in 1917, he said, "Hey, we're going to war." He was a pacifist, and
well, the Germans made a move. They wanted Mexico to attack us,
which was not much of a threat, but
it kept us off of Europe. That's what they were trying to do.
Yeah, and the Germans were promising the Mexicans they could have their southeastern lands back.
Right.
That ain't happening, dude.
No, it's not. So,
that ain't happening.
If I was president, I'd get a little upset about that one.
I would too, and if I were an American who believed in the United States and that we were a good country and a value, because we've done a lot more with the land that we have than almost any country on the planet.
Oh, certainly. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Doc, we got about a minute and a half here.
Oh, my gosh. Time flies when you're having fun. And then, of course, Putin said that the United States and Western Europe are trying to provoke a new level of tension between the NATO countries and Russia with all this use of now. Biden said that it was okay for the Ukrainians to use our intermediate range missiles on targets that were aiding the Russian advances in the Ukraine. So it's ramping up, buddy boy. It's ramping up.
Yeah, it is, I'm afraid. All right, Doc, you got a minute? Want to say a couple things about the business before we leave?
Absolutely. So we are at 6399 38th Avenue North in St. Pete. And we also have telemedicine, 727-384-6411, 727-384-6411. And it's easy to do. Just call the front office and they'll put you on the schedule.
Very friendly ladies there.
Yeah. And if you do come into the office, you can get 2 free Dr. Bill mugs and get to see my pretty face.
You have to answer a question or anything like that?
You have to answer one question.
What's that?
Where's your money? Where's your insurance card?
About 15 seconds now. No, about 10 seconds. Say goodbye, Doc.
And say goodbye, Doc. Have a good weekend, everybody.
WGUL on W229DJ Dunedin, powered by Prosperity Group. Contact Greg Ellie today at 864-989-0176.
Experience the best selection of cigars and accessories in the country. Corona Cigar